So the power of CTV and specifically the targeting is still emerging, frankly. Because CTV is a very broad scenario. If we're referring to Paramount, we have both FAST and we have subscriber streaming. Right. Those are two different capabilities with two different targeting parameters that you're able to utilize. So, as we think about where the growth stage is, you have a lot of talk right now about clean rooms, and you have a lot of talk about ID graphs and all this other stuff. And I think ultimately what we want to have is you want to have a marketer who understands who their audience is, and you want to be able to match to the degree that you can against a specific publisher and make sure that there's a ability to have a direct conversation. CTV delivers a promise of having that direct conversation, but using the big screen to do so where it's more powerful. I think the variation is when you think about digital, you think about one-to-one targeting, right? To your phone or to your computer screen. When you're thinking about CTV, it is to a household, not necessarily one-to-one in many cases. So there's variations to all of that, and it really depends, your understanding as a investor of what you're trying to do, who your audience is, and ultimately what company you're trying to work with to enable having a conversation with your consumer. I think CTV delivers a significant promise, but there's still growth to be coming.
Right. You mentioned there's a lot of excitement right now around using first-party data in television, clean rooms. Is there a lot, but does the action in dollars match the excitement right now?
I think it's getting there. I think when we think about using first-party data and clean rooms, there's probably more scuttle than there is action at scale, because I think it's quite hard to do with scale, right? So if I'm an advertiser, how many variations of clean rooms do I need to have with how many different publishers, and how easy is that to execute? And I would say right now it's not necessarily such an easy thing to execute. It takes time, it's an understanding of which cloud infrastructure you're going to use, it's an understanding of what data set you're going to be bringing to the table, what you're going to use as a spine, how many variations of hops on that data have to happen before you get to the match. So I think there's a lot of talk, and then there's still a lot of work to be done to kind of scale that out, make it functional, but there is significant progress in that manner. There's demand, no question there is demand, and then there's a desire to do so from all parties. Now it's just putting it to scale, and again, because it is reasonably new, there's always going to be more talk than current action. Having said that, you could see the action really starting to ratchet up. You could see the things that we do, for example, with OpenAP and the initiatives that we have over there. And fundamentally, just from a marketplace perspective, Paramount aside, really just, again, having so many variations of capabilities from a variation of publishers and data sets, I think that there's more talk than really the ability to do this at scale.
Right. To your point, almost every media company has their own identifier product, their own kind of walled garden they're building, including Paramount IQ. How does that sort itself out over time, if it does?
Well, I don't think that so how this sorts itself out is, I don't think the walled garden approach is the right approach, and I don't think everybody can be a walled garden. For example, I don't believe Paramount should be and can be a walled garden. I think the TV industry can be its own version of and I don't even want to call it a walled garden, because I don't think that's how we'd want to position it, but for lack of a better term, I think the TV industry can create a TV version of a walled garden where you're coming and leveraging a multitude of partners in your execution. That's why an OpenAP exists, right? Your ability to kind of work across a multitude of partners provides the value that really kind of solve some of the challenges that we just talked about before in terms of the variation of how many clean rooms you could do. If you could do one clean room to work with all of your, quote unquote television partners, or really your video content partners, premium video content partners, then I think that makes it easier for an advertiser to execute. So I know that we're obviously very supportive of that, and we're very supportive of the industry coming together and to make it easier for the buyer.
There's been a lot of experimentation in television over the last year with new currencies. Can you catch us up on where your work is headed and what you've achieved so far? Sure.
So Paramount has been in the new currency game probably longer than everybody else. We've been executing buys in new currencies for a multitude of years. Where we are today is we are currently executing on new currencies today. We have been. So we feel what needs to happen is what we've done with the JIC that we've created with our partners, which is, hey, we have to set some standards to make it easier. We have to position the measurement companies to understand that there are things that they need to execute and be able to do in order to become currencies. We want to help them kind of enable that scenario by providing standards, by providing process, and providing measurement processes that will allow them to do what they need to do, and we could bring more potential currencies into the marketplace if that's what the advertiser desires. I don't think anybody wants to work with 25 different currencies, and I don't think that's where it's going to go. Right now you have a marketplace with legitimately 4 currencies. We'll call that VideoAmp, iSpot, Nielsen, and ComScore, and maybe you might get one or two more, but I don't think you want to like stop that from being a thing, but I do think you want to maintain and manage that. Not every measurement company can be a currency provider. So the jig that we're doing is really to kind of help structure that in a more functional fashion and allow the marketplace to work in conjunction with the programmers on what we're trying to do and allow for the advertisers to have a much better experience if they have a preferred measurement partner.
Speaking of currency, there's also a lot of attention on potential new currency being attention, measuring that and having that maybe a way that businesses transaction. Is that something you see happening, and where is that headed?
I do not see attention as a currency, personally. I see attention as a very valuable metric for a marketer to understand to some degree how an audience is engaging with their advertising and potentially allow them to optimize and more effectively deliver messaging. I don't see it as a currency because you can't necessarily always judge sentiment. So it's great somebody who's paying attention, but if I hated it, it doesn't mean I'm going to buy it either, right? So I think attention is a very valuable metric for anybody to understand ultimately, are the eyeballs or the mouse or whatever those factors are, because you have to define what attention is, and there's multitudes of companies that are delivering it, but ultimately what you want to do is allow for more information to make better decisions. And attention is another piece of useful information for an advertiser to use to kind of optimize what they're trying to do. But to make it a currency when you don't control the creative as the publisher, and the creative might have a very severe impact on what attention might mean, I think would be hard to justify and put together. But I do think it's a valuable metric that everybody should be tracking on some level. And I think the scuttlebutt around it, or the interest in it, is more about learning, defining, standardizing what it means, and then trying to put into action how it can impact your investment versus it being something that you transact on.
Lastly, Julian, one of the promises of CTV is that we're eventually going to have thousands and millions of TV advertisers, not unlike social media. Do you think we're getting close there, or is that a ways away?
I think we're getting there. I think it's still a little way away, but mostly because I think you need to do two things. First is create a programmatic opportunity so that you could bring in other advertisers in the market. So that's step A, and then step B is really kind of like understanding all these other things that we just talked about, what the value of all these other metrics are, and to figure out like how some of these guys can track ROI on some of their investment. But I also think reality is that TV is a constraint supply environment, and so this isn't social media. You don't have an endless feed of potential opportunities of ads. You have premium content that really is focused on delivering to a large audience, and you're going to have a limitation to the volume of potential ad opportunities. So getting to the point where you have every mom and pop in a local neighborhood buying a TV spot, I don't know that that's fundamentally scalable, but I do think that there's a significant opportunity to increase the volume of advertisers in television. Starts with getting the measurement in place and ends with kind of enabling the programmatic opportunity so that it can function in a more tactical manner.
Thanks, Julian.
Thank you very much.